So here's what I want you to know. What would it look like if you practiced being yourself? Just you. Not the version that people need or the version that keeps the peace or the version that gets approval or maintains some image, but you, your actual wildness. What would it look like if you said the things that are stuck in your throat without worrying what other people thought? Hello, 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 feminine rebels. Natty here, your host. Yada, yada, yada. And today's podcast, if you saw my Instagram post, is a response to something that I saw that happened just recently to a friend of mine, Erin Gallagher, who is the founder of the Hype Women movement. So you can go to Instagram and see my response to a post she made about someone co-opting her work. And well, what I said in my reel is that at first I was really angry for her. And then, half an hour later, I'm in the shower and I'm just overcome with this sadness and this grief for the woman who co-opted her work, because this woman didn't believe enough in herself and her own brilliance and her own wildness and her own cosmic puzzle piece and her own authenticity and wisdom to share with the world, that she had to take someone else's, shift it a little bit, and call it her own. So this speaks so dramatically, so perfectly to the fucking very reason why I started the Feminine Rebellion, started this work, started diving into helping women show up, helping humans show up as the truth of who we are. And so I thought for this podcast today, I would kind of go back to the birthplace of my work, because I recognize that so many people that are here, that are listening, that maybe are watching on YouTube, thank you very much for being here, are not familiar with the roots of my work, which started around 2017, 2018, when I left my career nonprofit and was depressed and anxious and on anti-anxiety meds and drinking too much Chardonnay and laying in bed thinking, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And, 9 years later, here we are. Let me take you back to 2018, to a fucking moment where I was listening to a podcast that I became a huge fan of, On Being, with Krista Tippett. And she was interviewing this British naturalist, Michael McCarthy. And he had written a book called The Moth Snowstorm, Nature and Joy. And I'm listening to him talking about defending the natural world, about how we can't save nature with statistics and sustainability reports, and how we need to defend it with joy, with our reverence and love for it. And he was talking about how we evolved over 50,000 generations as part of nature, as wildlife. And then only 500 generations of it we call civilization. And then he says this thing. He says, we might have left the natural world, but the natural world has not left us. And I just want to tell you what happened to my body when I heard him speak those words. I was driving. I was on Route 9 in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, really close to my house. I was stopped at a red light in front of a CVS. I remember everything. I remember the moment, and I felt like my cells start to vibrate. The hairs on my arms stood up. And I mean, that feeling when someone says something and your body just recognizes truth before your brain can even catch up. It was like every cell of my body was screaming, yes, 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 this is truth. And, that's exactly what happened to me in that moment. Because, I mean, here's what you probably don't know about me. I have always, and I mean always, been most at peace in the forest. When, since I was a tiny child, I have experienced this deep, unwavering connection to the natural world. I love to climb trees still as a grown ass woman. If I'm hiking in the woods and a tree calls to me, I'm going to try to fucking climb it. I hug trees. I talk to trees and yes, they talk back, not in words, but in this language that my body just understands when my mind doesn't. I say a prayer for every fucking dead animal I see on the road. Everyone. I pause in my car. I give a small acknowledgement to the life that was there. I say, thank you. You matter and you deserve to be witnessed. You might think this is like cute or quirky or, well, that's just, Natty being weird or Natty being Natty, but it's not a quirk and it's not just a personality trait. It's who I fucking am. It's my frequency. It's the way my particular wildness expresses itself. And sitting at that red light in front of the CVS, listening to Michael McCarthy talk about this evolutionary bond with nature, something in me just remembered. I wasn't learning something. I wasn't discovering something. I was like remembering something. I've always known this. My body has always known this, that I am not separate from wildness. I am not separate from the trees I climb. I'm not an observer of nature. I am nature. And that peace I feel in the woods, I don't think to myself, I'm getting away from it all or I'm finding balance or it's some, wellness industry bullshit. For me, it's coming home to myself, to who I actually am. And if that's true for me, if my deepest peace comes from recognizing myself as part of the earth, not separate from it, then what else is true? This is the moment. This is where everything cracked open for me, because what landed for me in that moment wasn't about his stories of forests or butterflies or the stories about, he talks about sparrows disappearing from London. What landed for me was this: we are wildness. We are not separate from nature. We are not observers of it. It's not about going on, weekends where we, finally get our shit together to go for a hike. We are wildness. And if that's true, if we're literally made of this earth, if our bodies carrying 50,000 generations of being part of the natural world, then that means something else is true too. Each of us carries within us a particular wildness, a unique imprint, something that is just ours. It's just ours. And when that wildness is fully honored, fully expressed, fully alive, it carries the potential to heal the world. This is my belief, to push massive ripples of love and justice into the ethers. And this is where my work was born, right there in that moment, at that stoplight on Route 9 in front of CVS. It was like this moment of remembering. And just, I need you to sit with something else for a minute, because once you start thinking about this, how we're all a part of the natural world, how we're all just wildness expressing ourselves, you can't help but wonder, like, why are we here, right? Why now? Why at this moment in time? And I mean this literally. Like, do you know the probability of you even existing? The odds of you being born are approximately 1 in 400 trillion. 1 in 400 trillion. And that's accounting for your parents' meeting, for the exact moment they conceived you, that specific sperm made it to that specific egg, that your grandparents survived long enough to have your parents, your great grandparents, and on and on and on back through time. If any single one of your ancestors going back thousands and thousands of generations had died before reproducing, you wouldn't be here. I mean, if your parents had met 5 minutes later or earlier, you wouldn't be fucking here. I mean, if a different sperm had reached the egg, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be you. I mean, just let that land. You are a one-time cosmic event. I am a one-time cosmic event. And we are so statistically improbable that our brains literally cannot fathom it. And yet here we are, here right now, you and me on this planet at this exact moment in history. So here's what I believe. I believe you were planted on this earth for a reason. I was planted on this earth for a reason, and not in some woo-woo, everything happens for a reason kind of way that like bypasses pain and excuses injustice, but like in a deep cellular knowing kind of way that you and your particular wildness, your specific gifts, your unique weighing of seeing and being in the world, you were placed at this moment in time because the world needs exactly what you have to offer, not what you think you should offer, and not the polished, acceptable version of your gifts, but like the raw, unfiltered, specific to your frequency, you, that only you can transmit. So, the tree climbing, animal blessing version of me, that's not me being weird or indulgent or too much. That's exactly me being how I'm supposed to be. And when I try to sand down those edges, which I do sometimes, when I try to be more professional, which I have tried, or more appropriate, or to be more of what I think a successful woman should be, I'm not just betraying myself. I am betraying the very fucking reason I'm here right now. And this is something I grapple with all the time. And the same is true for you. So whatever your particular wildness is, whether it's being really creative or ragey or being tender or your refusal to accept the status quo, that's not accidental. That is not something to manage or moderate or apologize for. That is your purpose. Your only purpose is to be you. And that's why you're here. 1 in 4 trillion. And here you are right fucking now, at a time when the world is literally fucking burning, when all the systems are collapsing, when like everything we've been told about how to live is proving insufficient, right? You think that's a coincidence? No. You were planted here at this moment with your particular delicious medicine, your particular magic, your particular wildness, because this is when it's needed most. Not 50 years ago, not 50 years from now, but like in this moment, at this particular moment in time when you're hearing me speak. So when I talk about this work, when I talk about unbinding from conditioning, about reclaiming our aliveness, our turn on, about expressing your wildness, I am not fucking talking about self-improvement. I am talking about honoring the cosmic fucking miracle that you are. I'm talking about stepping into the reason you were planted here. Now, I work primarily with women because I know the female experience, right? Those are my people. That's who I am called to serve. But this truth is for all humans. I mean, I talk to my husband about this all the fucking time, all day, every day. I coach him on this too. How do we show up as humans, fully rooted in the truth of who we are, fully rooted in our wildness, fully expressed? And this doesn't mean being the loudest person in the room, right? It doesn't mean performing some version of wild and free that you see on fucking Instagram. Your wildness isn't a costume or an aesthetic. It's your truth. It's your rawness. It's your particular frequency, your unique way of moving through the world when you're not performing, when you're not shrinking, when you're not like shape shifting to fit into what you think people need you to be. This is my biggest fucking lesson for myself. Because, what I've realized over and over again, right? And the roots of this work is that we've away from our wildness systematically, deliberately. From the time we were small, we're handed this patriarchal playbook where we learned, to be quiet, to be good, right? We learned to just smile through it when inside we're all fucking ragey. We learned to say, I'm fine, when we're falling apart, right? We learn to kind of shrink our desires, to make ourselves smaller, to fit into these little boxes or cages, really, that were never designed for our particular shape. We call this maturity, being professional, call it growing up, just being appropriate. But what if that training away from our wildness, and stay with me for a minute. What if that training away from our wildness was the thing that was making us anxious, depressed, disconnected, lonely, and dead inside? McCarthy talks about how we're destroying the natural world and how we can't even feel our grief about it because it's too overwhelming. So we just turn away. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, that's exactly what we do with our own wildness, right? It's like, it's too much. It's too big. It's too risky. It's too potentially disruptive to these lives that we spent decades building. So we bury it and we perform and we shapeshift. Think about your own life for a second. How many different versions of yourself do you perform every day? Right? There's the work version. There's the friend version. There's the partner version. There's the parent version. There's the good daughter version. There's the woman who has her shit together version. Every day we shapeshift, every moment of every day. And, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with like adapting to different contexts, right? We're social creatures. We kind of read rooms and we adjust. But when did you lose track of who you actually are underneath all the shape-shifting, right? What did you learn from your parents that steered you away from your truth? What did your grandparents or your teachers model about what was acceptable? What did society teach you about what kind of woman, what kind of person you needed to be to make it, to be successful, to be safe, and to be loved? That's what my work's about. It's about unbinding from those narratives, unbinding from the cultural conditioning that told you you weren't enough, unbinding from this old paradigm that says you need to be a certain way, you need to want certain things, you need to live a certain life in order to matter. But that old paradigm is fucking killing us. And it's not like a one-time dramatic event. It's slowly and quietly, right? Through the anxiety that we medicate instead of actually listening to our bodies, through this depression that we pathologize, right? Instead of recognizing all of it maybe as a sign that we're just living too small, and this vague sense that, is this all there is? Right? We try to shop it away or goal set it away or self-optimize away. But what if like none of that, the anxiety, depression wasn't a fucking disorder? What if it was your body literally screaming that you are living a contracted life, right? What if it's like your wildness rattling the fucking cage, demanding more? What if your too muchness that you've spent your whole life trying to manage and stuff down wasn't a problem, but it was your fucking medicine, your magic, your particular frequency that the world is literally screaming for, that the world is desperate to get a taste of. So here's what I want you to know. What would it look like if you practiced being yourself? Just you. Not the version that people need, or the version that keeps the peace, or the version that gets approval or maintains some image, but you, your actual wildness. What would it look like if you said the things that are stuck in your throat without worrying what other people thought? What would it look like if you expressed your emotions instead of burying them underneath the surface where they turn into insomnia, migraines, or a fucking weird rash that won't go away, right? What if you stopped performing readiness and just started from wherever the fuck you are? What if you just approved of where you are and who you are in this moment in time? This is the birthplace of my work. The idea that we are each wildness, that we carry a unique imprint, and that when we honor it, when we express it, when we actually live it, we don't just heal ourselves, we heal the whole damn world. Because when you show up as your actual self, messy, unfiltered, fully alive, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. You create the ripple. You create the damn ripple effect, right? And that ripple is how we change everything. It's how we change everything. It's not through self-improvement or productivity hacks or going to the fucking gym more, at eating more protein, right? But through the radical act of coming home to your wildness, of just letting it fucking breathe, of letting it move, of letting it just express. So yeah, that's where it all began, with a podcast about defending the natural world through joy instead of statistics, and the recognition that we are the natural world, right? That our wildness isn't something to tame or manage or apologize for, but your fucking birthright. Yeah, the world doesn't need you smaller, quieter, or more palatable. The world needs your wildness. All right. Whew. That was a lot. Thank you for listening. I had to say that. I had to share that. That was my truth today on this Wednesday morning when I'm recording. And if I don't say it enough, I mean it. I love you madly. I do. My heart is reaching out to your heart right now as you're hearing my words. Our hearts, our wildness they're connecting, they're co-creating. So yeah, love you madly. Let's fucking go. Mwah! Peace out.